populated Mexico City. It struck on the 32nd anniversary of the quake that killed thousands. And we're talking reports.
Entire buildings came crashing to the ground when the earthquake struck. The powerful tremors had people running for their lives out of shaking buildings and onto the streets. It came just 2 hours after drills were held across Mexico to mark the date of the 1985 disaster. A mix of neighborhood volunteers, police, and firefighters used trained dogs with bare hands to search through the rubble for survivors. Dust-covered people, some barely conscious and seriously injured, were rescued from the collapsed buildings. One of the most desperate efforts was at a primary and secondary school in southern Mexico City, where a weak 3-story building collapsed into a massive concrete floor slab. More than 24 bodies were reported found, almost all of them children. The rescue was punctuated by cries of quiet, so searchers could listen for any faint calls of help. The searchers shored up the fallen concrete slabs with wooden beams so they wouldn't collapse further and crush whatever airspaces there were. President Enrique Peña Nieto released a video urging people to be calm. He said 40% of Mexico City was without power, as was 60% of nearby Morelos State. But he said the priority at the moment was to keep rescuing people who were still trapped and providing medical attention for the injured. He later visited the school where rescue efforts were underway. He said more than 24 people in the school were still missing. The quake's epicenter was about 120 kilometers southeast of Mexico City. Much of the city is built on a former lake bed, and the soil can amplify the effects of earthquakes centered hundreds of kilometers away. Alan Boonia, TVB News.
Hurricane Maria was a Category 5 storm when it tore up the Caribbean island of Dominica earlier this week and killed at least 2 people. Now Puerto Rico is taking a direct hit of what experts call the most catastrophic storm to hit the U.S. territory in a century. Sonia Artero with that story.
Hurricane Maria's ferocious winds and lashing rain are already hitting Puerto Rico hard. The monster storm is now packing winds of 208 kilometers per hour. The governor of the U.S. territory told his people to brace for a life-threatening storm.
We have not experienced an event of this magnitude in our modern history. Although it looks like a direct hit with major damage to Puerto Rico is inevitable, I ask for America's prayer.
He instructed residents to evacuate to shelters as his government prepared for the worst.
My administration has done everything within our power to prepare for this event and to protect the lives of everyone in the island, including establishing over 500 shelters.
Puerto Rican residents heeded that warning by flocking to shelters to protect themselves from the second maximum strength storm to hit the Caribbean this month. The Dominican Republic stepped up preparations for Maria as it came under a hurricane warning advisory. The government quickly packed up emergency food supplies and trimmed back trees. Maria already wrecked the tiny island of Dominica with widespread devastation. The storm knocked out all communications, and 70% of homes lost their roofs. It also pounded the island of Guadeloupe, claiming at least 2 lives there. The French overseas territory of Martinique felt the impact, but escaped largely unscathed. Since catastrophic storms are becoming commonplace in the Caribbean, British entrepreneur and philanthropist Sir Richard Branson is calling for a Marshall Plan of redevelopment.
Let's bring in the power generators. Let's make sure that we use this as an opportunity to
Sonia Artero, TVB News.
U.S. President Donald Trump stunned delegates at the United Nations when he warned his country would totally destroy North Korea if it threatened to attack. In a hard-edged maiden speech to the UN General Assembly, Trump also mocked the North Korean leader as a rocket man for his repeated missile tests. Delegates held their breath as U.S. President Donald Trump prepared to deliver his maiden speech to the UN General Assembly. And the controversial American leader laid it thick with more hostile rhetoric against North Korea. Trump stressed that Washington's patience with Pyongyang had almost run out, and that America was fed up with the constant missile launches and nuclear tests. He warned that if North Korea continued down its current path, it would reap a whirlwind of destruction.
The United States has great strength and patience, but if it is forced to defend itself or its allies, we will have no choice but to totally destroy North Korea.
He urged the world's nations to unite to counter Pyongyang, and warned America would put pressure on countries which continue to trade with North Korea.
It is an outrage that some nations would not only trade with such a regime, but would arm, supply, and financially support a country that imperils the world with nuclear conflict.
Trump even made an allusion to Kim Jong-un in his speech, apparently taking inspiration from an Elton John song, forming a nickname for the North Korean leader.
Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself and for his regime. The United States is ready, willing, and able, but hopefully this will not be necessary.
North Korea wasn't the only thing Trump wanted to get off his chest. He called the 2015 deal to rein in Iran's nuclear program one-sided and an embarrassment to the United States. Trump also took aim at Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, blaming him and his government for crushing his country's economy and causing untold misery to its people.
The Venezuelan people are starving, and their country is collapsing. Their democratic institutions are being destroyed. This situation is completely unacceptable, and we cannot stand by and watch.
Also, Trump praised international efforts to destroy the Islamic State, while reminding the world of the crimes perpetrated by the Syrian government, including the use of poison gas against its own people. In Washington, a Senate panel probing alleged Russian interference in the 2016 election abruptly cancelled an interview with President Donald Trump's personal lawyer. A swarm of reporters demanded answers from Michael Cohen, as word surfaced that he had issued a statement about his testimony in violation of committee policy. However, Cohen was later asked to appear at an open hearing on October the 25th. Meantime, former U.S. Ambassador to China, John Huntsman, was grilled by the Senate Foreign Relations Committee as President Trump's nominee to be ambassador to Russia. That's where the current Utah governor was adamant Moscow did meddle in the 2016 U.S. election.
There is no question, underline no question, that the Russian government interfered in the U.S. election last year, and Moscow continues to meddle in the democratic processes of our friends and allies.
Some local news now, and to cope with the city's housing crisis, owners of hundreds of properties have stepped forward to offer their idle homes to rent out at a low price to people in need. As Rachel Lone reports, priority will be given to those living in poor conditions.
The first batch of shared flats will come from this 30-year-old building in Kowloon City. 20 units will be available for use by the end of the year, ranging from 250 to 300 square feet. Its developer Henderson Land rented it out to local charity Rock for 2 years for a symbolic $1 per month. So who will be eligible? Those that qualify would have been waiting for public housing for at least 3 years already and are currently living in homes that are unsuitable, like subdivided flats, as well as having a low income. The charity says while there are many families who are in need of transition housing, priority will be given to people living in severe conditions. Chief Executive of the NGO, Alice Lau, said Loksinjong will also conduct visits to understand the living needs of applicants. The charity has recently visited tenants living under rooftops and subdivided flats. As far as how the flats will be allocated, Loksinjong says that would depend on individuals' needs, rather than leaving it up to the draw. The elderly or the handicapped are likely to be given a unit on the bottom floors. The building will be utilized to its fullest. Even the ground floors will be renovated to serve as community centers to provide job training. The development chief today also appealed to property owners to collaborate in the flat sharing scheme so those in need can benefit. Rachel Lang, CBC.
And after announcing details about the scheme providing transitional housing for the needy yesterday, the Hong Kong Council of Social Service isn't stopping there. Today, it also revealed a plan to rent out shipping container homes for the same purpose. Winner Wong with that story.
It's an idea that's been in talks for months. The Hong Kong Council of Social Service even sent a team to the Netherlands last year to observe how the country came to develop the world's largest container house village. These houses are put together using simple methods and provide basic facilities including water and power supplies, a bathroom, and cooking components. The council says at this stage, a developer has already agreed to rent out land to build Hong Kong's own cluster of shipping container homes for symbolic rent of $1. The land is expected to be about 7,000 square feet in area. It will host about 80 units ranging from 160 to 320 square feet and fit about 2 to 5 people each. The council hopes to have the houses up and running by next year, but first it will have to solve problems residents of these homes will face, such as the city's hot weather and typhoon safety. President of the Institute of Engineers Iron Chan says the problem of heat can be easily fixed with insulation boards, and as long as containers are stacked no more than 2 units high, typhoons should not pose too much of a threat to them. Secretary for Development Michael Wong says the government holds an open attitude towards new ideas. But he also said if the city has land to spare, authorities need to consider whether it's better to use them for temporary or permanent housing. He also did not say whether Carrie Lam's maiden policy address to be delivered next month will touch on the topic. Winner Wong, TVB News.
Second, diversifying our economy and embracing new challenges. And third, enhancing development and environmental capacity for sustainable growth. Share your views on or before April 30th.
邊個啊？
我係法團通告，通知你嚟緊要請新嘅清潔同保安公司，仲要做外牆維修。你係業主要俾咁多。你唔知咧，因為你冇出席法團會議咯。
Building owners are responsible for managing the common parts of a building. Owners should attend meetings of the Owners Corporation and vote on major issues in person to safeguard their own interests. Active participation in building management benefits all. Our city moves at a fast pace. But when there's a traffic jam, it costs us time and increases roadside air pollution. It also affects our economy and our daily life. To improve things, we must change our habits. Let's work together. Follow traffic rules at all times. Use public transport and walk instead of driving. If we reduce traffic jams, everyone benefits. Save privacy. Be smart online. Don't download suspicious mobile apps. Don't use an easy-to-guess password for all accounts. Installing a webcam without security settings, footage could be intercepted. Ignoring privacy settings in a social network account, personal data could be exposed. Don't use free public Wi-Fi recklessly. Delete preferred networks after use. Change online password regularly. Be smart with password security. 無論喺工作上遇到幾多困難，我哋都會不偏不倚，執行職務。即使查案搜證嘅過程好似大海撈針，我哋都唔會放過任何一個線索。有市民嘅支持同協助，我哋會繼續勇敢無懼，維護法治，為守滅罪，守護香港。
The former middleweight champion, whose life in and out of the ring was depicted in the award-winning film Raging Bull, has died at the age of 95. On to Italian football, and Bologna reacts to Inter Milan's perfect start to the new Serie A season after forcing a draw at home. Jeff Tang takes a look. Serie A leaders Inter Milan took their perfect 4-win record to the Stadio Renato Dall'Ara to face Bologna. Inter must have expected to extend its winning start to 5 wins against a side that had struggled to claim 4 points from as many games. But the home side played with a purpose and were on target on several occasions. They grabbed their well-deserved lead in the 32nd minute, and Simone Verdi ran at the Inter defence before blasting a rainbow past Inter goal Samir Handanovic from the edge of the box. The visitors began to exert more pressure in the second half, but had trouble getting past Bologna keeper Antonio Mirante. Inter's breakthrough came 15 minutes from time when substitute Ida was fouled in the box. Mauro Icardi stepped up to fly home the penalty and forced a wild draw. Inter still lead the table with 13 points, but Napoli and reigning champ Juventus are snapping at their heels with 1 game in hand. Jeff Tang, TVB News.
And that's all the news for now. Thanks for watching TVB, and have a very good night.